First the colors, then the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least how I try. Here is a small fact: you are going to die. I am in all truthfulness attempting to be cheerful about this whole topic, although most people find themselves hindered in believing me, no matter my protestations. Please trust me, I most definitely can be cheerful. I can be amiable, agreeable, affable, and that's only the A's. Just don't ask me to be nice. Nice has nothing to do with me.
These are not the words of a human. These are the words of a welcome to the Book Thief. I'm Zan, konnichiwa, aloha, buongiorno, and what's up? And welcome to another installment of the Spiraken Book Club. More importantly, welcome to the 30th installment of our Project 45 by 45, where we try to read 45 books before my 45th birthday. So we are 2/3 of the way there with number 30, and this one is a little intimidating and, more importantly, a little tragic in a maybe good way, maybe bad. And as I said in the cold open, this book that we're talking about is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. And this book is one which is endearing and wonderful and sad and beautiful. It was written in 2005. It's over 20 years old. This is the 20th anniversary cover, which looks so beautiful. The wispy hand of maybe burning, maybe death. And then we have, of course, our main character Liesel as the eye and thief. The design for this is beautiful, and actually instead of French folds, what they've done is they've actually imprinted the jacket copy in the interior. And it is a book that is, well, endearing, thrilling, beautiful, sad, and it'll leave an impression on your heart. Well, in my opinion, anyway. The prose are very unique, and it is one which just, it draws you in, and at times it's hard to read, but you gotta go through it to the end. And it kind of spoils some elements, but you still want to know what happens. And let's actually just get into it. Let me read the jacket copy for you so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. It is 1939, Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier and will become busier still. Liesel Miminger finds her life change when she unearths a single object from the snow. It is the gravedigger's handbook left there by accident at her brother's funeral, and it is her first act of book thievery. But these are dangerous times. When Liesel's foster family hides a Jewish man in their basement, Liesel's world is both opened up and closed down. In superbly crafted prose that burns with intensity, award-winning author Markus Zusak has given us one of the most enduring stories of our time. And that is true. It is an enduring story, which could be compared to Anne Frank, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, and Mouse. It's one which it feels relevant and understanding, and it fits in this current climate and in history in general. It's a timeless story about someone who is witnessing atrocities while trying to live their life. But let's get into it, because this is the story of Liesel. Liesel is a young girl who's being fostered off from her mom to a family in a small town outside Munich known as Mulking. And she was supposed to go there with her little brother, but her little brother died on the way there. And then when he died, the gravediggers dropped the book. She didn't know how to read at the point, so she picked it up, didn't know what it is, but she stole it. It was important to her. And from then on, she would steal a couple more books throughout the story. And while all of these circumstances are happening, she's being observed by someone who has observed her 3 times throughout this entire story. And that is Death itself. Death is the narrator of the story. And Death's thoughts about things are kind of fascinating because he brings it up in a very beautiful way, which is, the consequence of this is that I'm always finding humans at their best and worst. I see their ugly and their beauty, and I wonder how the same thing can be both. It's his observation of what's going on and this beauty and wonder and sadness that he sees, which makes all these characters have 3 dimensions, because you can compare the various groups. You have characters like Liesel's adopted father, Hans, who is a wonderful human being who, yes, he is trying to be part of the party for reasons, because he's going to be ostracized otherwise, but he does the right thing. He's a good man. He's like, oh, I can't help you out, so you can't pay? Give me a cigarette. I'll do this thing that you need me to do. Or, this man saved my life. I'm going to repay him. And he does it. And tragically, it ends not well for him, but not in the way that you think. Because it kind of gets spoiled early on that he dies, but it's the way he dies, like, really? It makes sense, though. Well, on the other hand, you have Miss Fisher. She is a woman who owns a shop, and she is a staunch supporter to the party. Where if you say anything or you don't uh, acknowledge her huge portrait of the Führer, she will kick you out. It's kind of a horrible person, but it's like you see these two horrible people, and also then you have someone who's in charge of the youth program that Liesel and her friend Rudy are part of, and he is a little bastard. He's kind of a monster. And you're like, okay, these are the people who are involved in this, and this is what's going on. And you're watching this, and you're reading about this, and it's just, you see how he pictures this world. And speaking of which, the way he writes the story's narrated, is fascinating because every so often it goes from it's explaining the situation, the narrative, it breaks off where Death has a comment. And it's usually written in bold black lettering, which is like, for example, two questions. Would the gate shut her behind, or would they have the goodwill to let her back out? Next one is the contents of Walter Kugler's gift. One small razor, a spoon, the closest thing to a mirror, shaving cream, and a pair of scissors. And one other one, Max Vandenberg's visitor. Score sheet. Hans Huberman, 2. Rosa Huberman, 2. Liesel Memminger, 3. And these interjections kind of break the pace of the story, but they also make sense that you're listening to someone tell you this story. This is Death recounting what happened. More importantly, there's more going on, which I don't want to spoil because you have to read the book. However, it's Liesel's story of her living with the Hubermans and her interacting with them. I mean, she loves her papa. Hans is the perfect person for her. He's supportive, he's nurturing, he's understanding. He is understandably a disciplinarian at times, but he's a good man. And yeah, he does some stupid things. Like, for example, when he sees one of the shop owners' store gets broken into because of reasons, he ends up helping the person, even though the person's like, if you help me, this will be bad for you. He's like, no, I'll clean it up. I don't care. There's repercussions later because of that, but he does the right thing. Or on the other hand, when he sees Liesel saying something very not good, and he smacks her in public and says, don't ever say that. And then private's like, look, when you're home, you could say whatever you want. When you're in public, you cannot say that. That is really bad. They will take us away. They will take you away. This will be bad. He's able to teach her that. Meanwhile, on the other hand, his wife, Rosa, she actually, like, one, she loves her family. She loves her husband, loves her new adopted daughter, and loves her actual children, who are a little bit too older because Hans and Rosa are a little bit older. But she is like a horrible person who says horrid things. She calls her adopted daughter a slur, which I'm not going to say here, um, and her husband a slur. It's like that's her love language, is saying, "Oh, you this and that." I'm not saying the words because, oh, fun fact, there are a lot of German words in this which they say, and I'm like, oh, that's that. And I had to look up what they were. I'm like, oh, that's what that means. The book's like, oh, it just means this. Like, no, it's a little more than that. So yeah, but she is there. She is helping out in the family, and she actually introduces Liesel as someone who's going to help her out later because Rosa is a laundry woman. She'll go to your house, get your laundry, clean it for you, and bring it to you. Unfortunately, during 1939 through 1941, this is not the best thing because most people can't afford these luxuries. You're on ration cards, which it brings it up. And and Hans, I forgot to say, he is a house painter. He actually makes the paints. He does that. He's a magician with his craft. But he also is someone who walks around and plays the accordion, which brings Liesel lots of joy. And yeah, it's this family that she's made that brings her out of her shell, teaches her how to read, and helps her be a better person. That and her best friend, a young boy named Rudy, who is in love with her. And at one point, Death's like, the worst thing than a boy who hates you is a boy who loves you. And this is true because he is madly in love with her and wants to kiss her. And realistically, if things had worked out, maybe they would have ended up together. Fortunately, when you first meet him, slight spoilers, we know what happens. Yeah, this is a story which is very hard. A lot of people die in this, and it's not because of this or that. It's casualties of war, and the situation becomes more further on as Max is introduced. As I said, Max is someone who Hans saved his father, and now Hans is repaying the debt by protecting this Jewish man in their home, which, if the Nazis find out, that will be really bad. And I know really bad sounds like, oh, what's really bad? It's like, no, it's kind of it's extremely dangerous. It's like best case scenario is they kill you in the street. Best case scenario, well, if they catch you. But again, digress. So what else can we say about this wondrous story? Well, it actually gets into a lot of elements that are unique because the prose are the story itself. There's also a story within a story because Max ends up writing a story for Liesel and they actually show the story and it's kind of pretty. Because you have nothing else to do while you're hiding, so you do that. And you know, the artwork of the book are great, and also the subtle touches of the what was used to make the book that was drawn. A plus, A for effort. So I kind of babbled a little bit about the plot, and the characters themselves are beautiful. There's a lot going on, and I'm not gonna get too far into the episodic nature of this, where it is these episodes from her in school to her being an adult. But not an adult, but it's her at the end of the story. But it is a story worth reading. It is a story which flows well. It's a story which I had to put down a couple times. The prose are well written, in my opinion. And after reviewing this, I talked to a couple people, and they're like, "Oh no, I hate the prose. The prose just made no sense. It seemed infantile because you explain things like this person's bad for being bad, and it's like, one, this is a YA book, so you can't get into the true nuances of a character. I mean, you could, but that'd be a little bit too heavy. And this book is extremely heavy, so the way they went about it, I feel, worked really well. And the way they describe things are great. I mean, our second quote is one which truly works for that, and that is going to be, I want to explain that I am constantly overestimating and underestimating the human race, that rarely do I ever simply estimate it. I wanted to ask her the same thing, how the same thing could be so ugly and so glorious, its words and stories so damning and beautiful. It's a lot of examination of that dichotomy between good and bad, how something can be in morally gray areas. And it's a good way to do it. It isn't the let's get into the morally gray and get into philosophical. It's just I wanted to ask because it's someone who is observing what's going on but doesn't understand it fully. Death doesn't see things the way we do. Death is a constant. He's not evil. He's not good. He's there. And it's one of the more fascinating elements of this because, while being a self-proclaimed thanthophobe, which many people are, fear of death, it's a natural thing for humans, I do find this version of death fascinating because he's just, one, the fact that he sees colors. It's like colors are what I see in everything. That's what I first will see, and that draws everything. So the sky was a dark brown, or gets into the description of colors for scenes, and that's a big part of the prose. But it's also this element of how colors can invoke emotion, and it fits so well with the point of death being obsessed with colors and scenes. It's not the just I'm here to pick you up, that's it, or it is your time to die. No, he's a very thoughtful and thinking death. I think out of all the literary forms of that natural response, I think this is like my third favorite. Underneath Discworld's death, which all caps, that's awesome, and death from Neil Gaiman's Sandman, because that's the death where it's like she's the nicest and sweetest person possible, and she's there, and she's a good, like, honestly good person. This one is one who's like, I'm doing my job, I'm trying to do the best I can, and he mourns every single time. At one point there is a bombing, and he's like, I was really busy that day, and I tried to take everyone up, and he talks about each person that we've known that are named characters. and says they were there together, and I didn't want to like bother them, but that was it. Another person's about time, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm lamenting about that. It just that description, those descriptions are describing this because this is a very ugly book. It's very ugly with what's going on. A lot happens that is really fucked up, and it's war. It's World War II, and it's something which you shouldn't shy away from. You shouldn't shy away from that. What happened? You shouldn't shy away from the fact that they would take people from the death camps to walk around to do menial labor because they didn't want to pay for it, or the fact that people who had businesses would just be like, "Nope, oh you're Jewish, yeah, we're gonna throw you out. You take in a suitcase, and we're gonna burn your stuff or steal it." And there's nothing you can do about it. Or the ones who are smiling about burning books, and everyone's cheering it on, and they're like, "Yeah, let's burn it." And Liesel watching this and being horrified by this. Or what about the people who are like, "Oh yeah, well, you know what? You can't own books because of this," and then people hearing about the books, they're trying to see people in the worst situation come together. You're in a bunker alone while someone's bombing above, and then someone just pulls out a book and starts reading it, and the story saves you from what's going on. It takes you away from what's good. It's what books are great for, what news are great for. It's a moment of just kind of, this world sucks. Let's take it somewhere a little happier. Even though a lot of books lately have been a lot more depressing, let's be honest. They've been focusing more on the fucked up reality of the situation, which, on one hand, reality is a good thing. It's important, but sometimes you need that escapism. And I would like to say this one is an escapism book, but it's not. It's one which it's important, it's in depth, and more importantly, it's something which you should read. Now, what am I going to say about this? I could go on about this and just keep going into circles and circles and circles, but honestly, you got to read it. You should read it and make the decision on yourself. Now, for me personally, I gave this our highest rating of really, really cool. Read it now. This is going to break your heart, and you'll thank it because it's one of those ones where you got to read it and you got to get it. And Markus Zusak really pushed it far to do what he did with this. I think you should read it, and I think you'll love it. And honestly, the last quote from the book is the one I think fits this perfectly, which is simply, "I've hated words and I've loved them, and I hope I made them right." This is a book that either you're going to love or you're going to hate, but I think that this was rightfully written. That's my opinion on it. If you disagree or agree with me, you can email me personally, zan@spiraken.com, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on if you liked it or if you didn't. Also, I don't know if you noticed, for this episode, I'm using a wireless mic right here. Let me know what you thought. You think if you like this audio quality better, or if you prefer me using my mixer and mic, because this is one I can't do any of the fun voice effects, but hopefully it sounds a little better. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I'm probably gonna switch back to the other one, but this is what I'm gonna be using for some of my more fun things at conventions now. I just got it. I picked up a DJI. So anyway, regardless, getting off topic. So, yeah, like I said, let me know your thoughts. If you like this, if you didn't like it, email me personally, zan@spiraken.com. Tweet me at Spiraken. Let me know your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, as always, remember to like, share, subscribe, and click on that bell for notification for when I release new episodes. Where I release the book club episodes on Mondays, and on Wednesdays, I release our Spiraken manga review, our longest running podcast, which has been going on for 18 years. So definitely check that out. So, now the $1 million question. What am I going to do now that officially I've gone through the alphabet once completely? 30 episodes. I started off with Project Hail Mary, and I've made it all the way back to The Book Thief. Well, I was thinking about it because the last couple have been kind of depressing, let's be honest. I did, Cold Hearted, depressing, not great. I did All Eyes on Him, not depressing, but kind of what the hell. I did our last one, which was Teddy Bears Never Die. Wasn't depressing, but kind of messed up because of what happened with the poisoning. And then this. So I need something a little bit uplifting, a little bit happier, something which is going to make me Smile. So I'm at it, and I decided to choose that one that only the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. Now, this is written by Takuya Asakura. And this one is going to be a little different because this is one of my favorite genres of books as of late. It is Iyashiki, which is a Japanese healing story. This is similar to Before the Coffee Gets Cold, What You Need Is in the Library, or Let's Prescribe You a Cat. It's pretty much an anthology of stories that are connected through some simple means, and it's a way for you to kind of realize what's going on and you kind of approach things. I call them palate cleanser books because they take your mind off of what's going on. I haven't read this one. It may be good, it may be bad, but you know, I feel we need a little bit of brightness in this world, especially after reading this. And yes, Liesel's story does end in a way where it's kind of bright, but it's downtrodden and it's horrifying. Now, usually I recommend one of these books for Greta to read. This one I will recommend her to read because she is someone who, if a lot of characters die or character she loves dies, it breaks her heart. So this is not one she would want to read. So yeah. But I digress. So anyway, as usual, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm your host, Zan. I'm Gonzville. I'll catch you guys next time. And as always, keep reading books. I will see you later.